It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline,
Live from the studios of the Ram Cave and the home of the Camellias and the Outsiders Network, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the August 17th, 2026 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Have you been injured in an auto accident? Are you hurt? Do you need some help? Have you got some questions? Check out Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. Also, click on that QR code and go to KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since '92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Sports Ball Games. Thrills without the wagers, impact without the work, playing for a hill of beans or just jelly beans. Play for fun, brag for real. The NFL season is here, and it's time to check out sports ball. And for me, be sure to check out Game Day in the Ram Cave. You had all summer. You've had a year to do this. Do it again. It is available on Amazon, softcover, and ebook format. All right, so we made it to Monday the 17th. Rams play again this week. Looking forward to. I think they're hosting the Saints. Didn't get into that part of it, but yeah, we're here. And news is coming out here and there. I think the Rams injuries are, they're like it always is, right? The Rams are going to play it extra cautious, and the Harry Hystericals are going to ramp it up a little bit, right? Remember, it was the apocalypse last year with Matthew Stafford. I never felt it was the apocalypse, but they made it sound like it was. Trost has a hamstring. I guess it's significant enough that he'll be shut down for a few weeks. That's okay. Play it safe, right? We want this dude ready. He's not Jordan Tyson of the Saints, who people on the Rams in the Rams community were eyeballing. He's out for a couple months. Mario Williams is also out. Bad timing for him. He had a pretty good camp last year. Bad timing for him to go get a hammy right now because of the play of Brennan Presley. Nakua, they didn't say groin. They said kind of like a sore core. Playing it safe. Garrett knee swelling, that sounds interesting. Interesting not in a good way. But, again, the Rams aren't going to rush anything. We are still, 3 weeks and 7 days away or 8 days away from 6 days away from kicking off in Melbourne. So I don't think there's anything too serious here. I think there are other issues for other teams that got stuff going on, but the Rams look like they're in pretty good shape. Oh, cool. People are here. Let's see who's here. Mike Gutierrez, glad to see Simpson do well. Granted, it's preseason, but lots of good traits. Oh, that's a great line. Lots of good traits that the coaching staff can work with. Yeah, absolutely. One of our guys online was just suggesting that is it possible that, he could be trade bait for Joe Burrow down the road. And I'm not into Joe Burrow. I'm into seeing what the ceiling is for Ty Simpson, and especially, as you said, Micah, the opportunity to see him develop with this coaching staff, right? Then again, if you take Rob Havenstein, who's now appearing on much more media, right? He was on Colin Cowherd today. He did a good job as a color guy for the Rams on Saturday, and now he's on Colin Cowherd, and so that was kind of cool. Jonathan Collins, thank you so much for clicking on. He was saying Stafford, if he wants to, if his mindset is right, has the physical ability to play another 3 or 4 years. I don't know if Ty Simpson wants that, but if he's going to go full Brady on us, I like Ty Simpson. I liked what I saw, but I'd like a whole lot more of Matthew Stafford. Let's see Matthew Stafford play so long with the Rams that his time with the Detroit Lions feels like Kareem's time with the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, it happened. It was way back there, but the bulk of his career was in Los Angeles. Jonathan Collins, do you like baseball, you're asking me? I do like baseball. I'm a Mets fan, so I can tell you what my season has been like. I grew up a Dodger fan. I dumped the Dodgers after they went to Time Warner. but I'm happy to kind of touch base on baseball here at RamView. I flirted with the idea of doing a general sports podcast at different times. It's just a question of working out my schedule. So, yeah, I do like baseball. Go Mets. Bad year. If you're a Dodger fan, rip me apart. There you go. Anyway, we love what we're hearing about Matthew Stafford and what everyone's saying about him. Now, I wanted to look at the offensive line before we talk about the defense. Who graded out well? Who got the snaps? Who did that? So there's 4 guys. Trost went out, and then other guys stepped in for him. But right now, I want to look at Bo Limmer, who played right guard. And we're going to look at their PFF scores. And, again, there's what you see and what they score, right? And a lot of times with analytics, we'll take what they score or what the eggheads put. Like I heard somebody today telling me that analytically the Indiana Fever are actually a better team without Caitlin Clark. And that's because these guys, if they played, they didn't play very well, or they just don't get the game. But Bo Limmer graded out one of the better offensive linemen on Saturday at right guard, did the whole run of the game pretty much, 68 and 84 in pass, 68 against the blocking for the run. That was a good showing for Bo Limmer. At center, Dylan McMahon had 51 snaps, and he didn't grade out really, really well. Bill Murray at left tackle in the first half had about 35, 36 snaps. He graded out okay. He's the free agent guy they signed, looked like depth piece. But the one that stood out, and PFF and RamsWire made mention of it today. Maybe somebody else did. RamsWire sometimes just picks up the link. But Austin Blasky, the undrafted free agent, graded out really well against the run and the pass. He runs about 6'5", they said, and he's big-sized. And if he's somebody that they can develop. Now, again, we're talking third-string practice squad guys, but that's a good showing. I'd rather have Blasky showing than Dylan McMahon showing. And then Bo Limmer did well, too. So that's kind of some positive there along the offensive line. We've talked about Simpson. Megan Farkas, thank you, Megan, for clicking on. Please hit like and subscribe, guys, if you haven't hit like and subscribe yet. Snaps on defense. I did hijack this one. Let me, can you see that? It looks kind of small to me. Let me see here. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, yeah, you can see it. I think it's okay. You look at some of the snap counts here, and you see who got snaps. Let's just run down the positions here. Defensive front, of course, you didn't see Kobe Turner, Tyler Davis, Poona Ford, or Braden Fisk. You also didn't see Laurel Murchison. And Murchison has been a guy the Rams had, kind of disappeared for a while, came back, got hurt. But the Rams keep bringing him back, and he's still around. He didn't take any snaps. That's an interesting sign. Who did we see? We saw Ty Hamilton, Tim Keenan, Bill Norton, Jackson Moy, Peyton Droik. Out of all of them, according to their PFF grades, Hamilton did grade the best, although Keenan was in on a sack, and you see him, he's in on 5 tackles and the sack there, and you see everyone else. It was just seeing Jackson Moy out there, Droik, Norton, actually, who we talked a lot about on Saturday. I'm kind of leaning into the Norton thing. If you go by PFF grades, he did not grade out that well. The one who graded out better than anybody was Ty Hamilton, and even that was a bit suspect. Again, PFF grades, you kind of take them a little bit with a grain of salt. Off ball, you didn't see Landman, you didn't see Dolak, you didn't see Spates, you didn't see Stewart. You also didn't see Elias Neal, who 2 years ago made the Rams active squad, then got sent down, released, put on the practice squad. And he's been around for a bit, and the Rams seemed to like him. He didn't take any snaps. Who did we see? Well, you saw the free agent, undrafted free agent out of Alabama, Nakai Hill-Green. And he played at Colorado for a couple of years and then finished his senior year at Alabama. He took 70 snaps. He played the most at off-ball linebacker on Saturday. He didn't grade out particularly well. Looks like it was a showcase for him. Monty Rice, who was recently signed, former Titan, he got some significant snaps. He didn't grade out super well either, but there's your off-ball room. Edge, you didn't see Garrett. You didn't see Byron Young. You didn't see Josiah Stewart. Surprisingly, who you did see was Des Johnson, Wesley Bailey, Daryl Peterson, Keir Thomas, and Daniel Rickert. Just the fact that you're seeing Johnson play here tells me that Bailey is in the mix. Keir Thomas is as well. Daryl Peterson, I don't think he's going to make it, neither is Rickert. I think Peterson is a guy that they cut and eventually bring back to the practice squad if he slips through. But DeJuan Johnson, who's been around for a while, so is Keir Thomas. It's interesting to see them play as long and as deep as they did into that game. Thomas, 32 snaps. Johnson, I'm not even sure how many snaps he had 33. It's not that they played poorly. It's just the idea that they were on the field there with Wesley Bailey. And Bailey has the look to him, right? Long, lean. Even Jordan Rodriguez was talking about him. He could be this year's Omar Spates, kind of, right, on defense. Cornerback room, you didn't see McDuffie, you didn't see Watson, and you didn't see Forbes. Who did you see? You saw briefly Cam Lampkin. I don't even know how many snaps Lampkin played, about 20 snaps. You saw Cam Lampkin, and he played okay. He played well. And then you saw Alzillian Hamilton, Nair Forquan, and Zach Fearson. Fearson's the one that had the pick that was called back later. He's a veteran. He graded out okay. Probably the best looking one here was Cam Lampkin. Azillian Hamilton was good in coverage, but I think it's a long shot for Forquan and McPherson. Even Hamilton probably gets cut and maybe finds a spot on the practice squad. Safety room, you didn't see Lake, you didn't see Wallace, you didn't see Curl, you didn't see Kitchens, and you didn't see McCullough. Who did you see? You saw Nate Valkersau, Alex Johnson, Alex Cook, Nick Anderson, and Tanner Engel. Engel feels kind of funny here that he played, and I didn't realize he played over 30 snaps. Tanner Engel played about close to 40 snaps. He's been around for a while. I think he's still on the bubble. Alex Cook didn't play too bad. And then Nick Anderson, right? Look at all the tackles. He was very active. Looks like he would be a great special teamer. I think Valkersau, Johnson, these guys, even Tanner Engel, they're all in trouble. But Nick Anderson could be a guy that maybe makes the squad as a special teamer or is definitely one of those guys that ends up on the practice squad. Tanner Engel, who's been solid, but he's kind of like the Ronnie Rivers of the safety room. He's been around forever, hasn't really broken through. And then a final note there, the Rams signed punter Jack Bowmeister. He's an Australian. 49ers released him, but he's a foreign player, and so he'll be on that international exemption thing. So the Rams practice squad, instead of showing 16 this year, will show 17. So I don't think that means Ethan Evans is in trouble. I think it means it's another leg to put out there so he doesn't get fatigued going forward. All right, let's see where we're at here. Boom, Mike Gutierrez. Lots of noise about Dean Connors. Could make for a good competition for the third running back spot on the roster. Wouldn't be shocked if he gets picked up by another team if we cut him. Yeah, he's got, remember the 49ers released, I think Brian Smith brought this up on Saturday or the day before, maybe Friday. I wasn't on Friday, last Wednesday maybe. There's that quote. I'm not saying he's Cody Schrader, but he's got that Cody Schrader vibe. If you remember Cody Schrader, he had a really nice camp with the 49ers, but at the time, the 49ers were deep at running back, and they released him hoping to put him on the practice squad. Rams poached him, but they kept him on the active roster. I think this was in 2023, and they never played him. If you remember, he wasn't put on the practice squad. He wasn't released and passed through because the Rams didn't want to lose him. And then he was activated late in the season. He was returning kicks for us in the postseason in 24. So I think Dean Connors probably has that kind of just that enough that somebody else would take a look at him. And this is where was Brian Smith. If you read my columns here on YouTube, I didn't even activate my ticker. I'm sorry, guys. But you've read my columns and some of the other comments about Dean Connors. I'd much rather see the Rams take a shot with Dean Connors than even Jarquez Hunter, right? Now, who made the bigger splash, right? The bigger splash was definitely Dean Connors. But I don't know. I'm not ready to give up on Jarquez Hunter unless the Rams are, right? Jordan Waters is cool. Tanker Riff. Hello, cutie. Tanker, it sounds like you had a tanker or two because I'm anything but cute. I got a face for radio. But like and subscribe. Glad you're here. Jordan Waters looks the part, but Jordan Waters is the odd man out here for sure, definitely. So we're talking if the Rams keep 3 or 4 running backs, Ronnie Rivers, Jarquez Hunter, and Dean Connors. And this is where I got into a little discussion there with Ronnie Rivers. Ronnie Rivers is comfort food. He's the Tanner Engel of the safety room. He's the Troy Reeder of the linebacker room. He's a good guy. They like him on the squad. He fits all the Ram things, but he's never going to be a starter. He's never going to be a star. He chips in once in a while, returning kicks. I like Ronnie Rivers. I love the fact that guy has got his degree in economics or whatever it was from Fresno State. He's earned enough time in the NFL to get a pension. He's got a nice start to his life. He's 27 years old, but he's Ronnie Rivers. And you could cut him, and if you still want to keep him in the building, you could add him to the practice squad, because unless another team or he really seeks out another team, no one's claimed him before. He's been bouncing on and off the Rams roster since, 2023? Maybe 2022? He's been bouncing around forever, and he's never really – no other team has shown any interest in him because he's a guy to them physically. Rams see him as something a little bit more. So I think you could cut him and run with the young guys, Hunter and Connors. Then you get those clicks out of Connors, definitely on special teams. But I'd much rather see what the upside is with those guys. Again, I'm not ready completely to get rid of Jarquez Hunter. Hey, if the Rams are ready to get rid of him, then we have to do it. That's just the way it is. But yeah, there was some pushback there. We know what we got in Ronnie Rivers, and we know what his ceiling is. We don't know what we have in Jarquez Hunter and Dean Connors. Now, here I'll say that here's an analogy. Here's old school. This shows how old I am. Can you see my hair? It's gray, right? Okay. I was told the other day I'm lucky to have it. Willie Bowen. There you go, Willie. I was talking about you on Saturday. Actual David Henry, thank you for being here. If you're new to us, please hit like and subscribe. But with that said, coming into the 76 season, this was Jack Snow's career was winding down. But Jack Snow, everyone loved Jack Snow. And the thought was Jack Snow's going to finish up with the Rams. But the Rams had 2 receivers in 76 they decided to keep. One was Dwight Scales. The other was a guy named Freeman Johns. And there was no taxi squad anymore. And the Rams cut Jack Snow. Institution in Los Angeles, right? Institution. And they went with the younger guys. Scales was a special teamer who could catch a little bit, and so could Freeman Johns. And Freeman Johns tore up his knee in, I think it was second week in Minnesota, and his career was over after that pretty much. But the Rams made the move for the younger guys. And I like Ronnie Rivers. I do. I'm not going to be upset if the Rams keep him, but I'd like to see the Rams with these running backs. If they're going to keep 4, I'd like to see them lean towards Hunter and Connors, right? Because Blake Corum's in his 3rd year. We've extended Kyron Williams. What's the future look like, right? What does the future look like if you could develop one of these guys? And besides, Willie Bowen needs a fullback, right? Willie Bowen needs a fullback. Actual David Henry, we need to let Ronnie go. He does nothing for the team except waste space on the practice squad. But again, the Rams wouldn't have had him around so long. And when you hear other players talk about him, there's something about him that he handles his business right. He's the guy for everyone else to look at and say, look what this guy does, to get them in that Rams mindset. I do not dislike Ronnie. This guy's outlasted Sony Michel. This guy's outlasted Zach Evans, right? Remember Zach Evans, the running back who was the steal of the draft, 6th round? I think it was TCU. He's outlasted a lot of guys, Darrell Henderson, a lot of guys. And so they like him, but the business is, we know his upside and no one else is going to take him. That's where I'm at on that one. Willie Bowen. Okay, we talked to Willie. Neil Gonzalez, wait to see what our quarterbacks do this coming Saturday. Yeah, it was funny. We were talking about let's have Stetson Bennett play a couple of series, and that's exactly what they did. And we knew it would happen, right? Everyone's getting all amped up for Ty Simpson, which is okay. He earned it, but it doesn't mean it has to come at the expense of Stetson Bennett, right? Stetson Bennett started the game, got a little taste of the action, and the Rams pulled him. And I maybe they'll do that this week. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe, would I be surprised if Caldwell, the camp arm, gets some time at a certain point, right? Or you just want to give as much exposure you can to Simpson. The great thing about Simpson was he was doing it with guys that, he was doing it with guys that are like our practice squad guys, third string practice squad guys that aren't going to be here in a few weeks. And he was doing that against the other defense too, but it was fun to see. The one that interests me especially, I didn't talk about the offense too much today. I was kind of trying to save it for Wednesday. What really should interest us is what's going to happen in the wide receiver room. Mario Williams is down, hamstring. Nakua is not going to play. Devontae Adams is not going to play. CJ Daniels, CJ Daniels got targeted, made a couple of catches, but he didn't really stand out on Saturday. He didn't play bad. They complimented him on his blocking. I didn't check out his PFF score for blocking, but how much more is he going to get? And then Xavier Smith and Brennan Presley. I really think that's a battle. I really do. And then will we see Dan Villard? How much more Mark Redmond are we going to get it tied in? Right? Redmond was get released, go to the practice squad. All those guys are. Villari will be. All those guys will be. So what happens? Does Redmond show out and then somebody decide to poach him from the team if he gets cut and put on the practice squad? There's a lot of fascinating stuff on offense. We want to see Blasky. Now, I did talk about Austin Blasky. He played left guard in the first half, but in the second half, he moved to left tackle. Versatility, man, right? Versatility. If the Rams have found it, and it's a real reach to say it right now, but if the Rams somehow found another undrafted free agent gem, Alaric Jackson, if they found another undrafted free agent gem in Austin Blasky, and then they got a third rounder in Keegan Trost, that's special depth, right? That could be special depth. I think the expectation for Keegan Trost is to play NFL snaps this year. I think that question's been answered. I think the Rams expect him to play. And that was one of my fears going in because you need that backup for Warren McClendon. All right. Just a reminder, be sure to hit like and subscribe. We want to get this show to 1,000. I got a couple of people talking to me. Joe, you want more sponsors? You want to get more of the big Mamu? I am a bivocational, trivocational guy and stuff. And so yeah, I need more sponsors, and we got to get this up to 1,000. So if you could help us with subscriptions, that would be great. All right, around the NFL and other places, Saints, Jordan Tyson, ASU, out for 2 months. I saw hamstring, significant hamstring. And there was that question about him, can he stay healthy? And there were a lot of Rams fans. You watched his film. I think if the Rams had taken him, and I'm as guilty, and I'm right there with everybody, I wanted the Rams to get another weapon for Stafford. If they'd have taken Tyson, I'd have been okay with it, right? But ignoring he had a history for some injuries, and now for the Saints, he's out. And that really, puts a crimp in their plans because they were running him out there with Olave and Chris Olave and Tyre Shug. And so, yeah, that kind of takes a little steam out of New Orleans there. Vikings linebacker / safety Jamal Adams out for the year with a knee. The guy hasn't been right since 2020. He moved from strong safety to linebacker a few years ago. If you remember, the Seahawks gave up 2 number ones to get him from the Jets. I think he was All-Pro or Pro Bowl 3 times in a row, 6th overall pick out of LSU in 2017. Really good player, but time ran out for him because of those injuries, and now he was in Minnesota, and he got hurt, tore up a knee in the first preseason game. And I think you were with us after the Friday after the Hall of Fame game. And then there was the game against the Raiders. Yeah, it was the game against the Raiders, Cardinals and Raiders. And Jeremiah Love carrying the ball 11 times, catching 3 passes. What were the Cardinals thinking? And Jeremiah Love now has a high ankle sprain, right? Cardinals are going to Cardinal. That's all you can say, right? Taxkins are releasing Jake Moody, 3rd round, 99th overall. That's where Jake Moody was drafted by the 49ers. Amen. 3rd round, 99th overall. A couple years later, the Rams got Cam Kitchens. I think I'll go with that. Amen? Amen. All right. Let's see. Mike Gutierrez, have a feeling Snead will be hunting for tackles given the circumstances. Again, the Rams are always so cryptic, right? They're shutting Keegan Trost down. He's going to miss some time. Who's out there still and who do they want to bring in and stuff. And so, Quisenberry didn't take any snaps. I'm not a big David Quisenberry fan. He plays one game and doesn't give up any sacks and is solid. It isn't a liability. I'll be the biggest David Quisenberry fan on the planet. But I don't know who else is left out there. I don't want to get all hairy, hysterical, and excited about Blasky, but Blasky did do a good job. And I'm confident Trost is going to be back. I'm still feeling it. He was still standing on the sidelines. He was still in uniform. He still had his pads on well into the 4th quarter, right out there with everybody else. I just think, again, the Rams always err on the side of caution, except when they're losing by 33 touchdowns for some reason. McVay leaves Stafford in a game, right? That's the only time we've seen that happen a few times. I'm thinking week 2 of the 2024 season. $5 Steve, you would think LaFleur would follow the what McVay does and keep an impact player like Love out. Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. LaFleur was with us, 2 years? I do not get it. I do not understand it, right? And then I was doing the homework here. Let me see. They lost Chase Basantes, offensive lineman. He's out for the year. They lost Caleb Proctor, another guy. They lost him way back early in the summer. All these guys are out. They got guys dropping left and right. It's the Cardinals, right? They got worse mojo than the Spanos family, right? Well, what do you think in doing that? And then even Carson Beck's got bruised ribs right now. I do not know what LaFleur was thinking, right? It just does not make sense. Not at all. All right, we've hit the 28-minute mark. One of the things we like to talk about a little bit as coaches to keep on, and I might need to add to this, but Washington's Dan Quinn, I thought about him the other day. Well, yesterday. Was it yesterday or today? What was it, this morning? I put him on the hot seat. The Taxkins couldn't find a way to bring back Von Miller, who had 9 sacks. Now, maybe Miller didn't want to be there, but Von Miller, Texas A&M, signed with the Cowboys a 1-year deal. That was a really good move for the Cowboys. And you're just seeing what the Cowboys are doing. It makes me sick because I hate the Cowboys. Can't stand the Cowboys. But the Cowboys, I think they're the second best team on paper to the Eagles in the NFC East. And I know everyone's getting hot for the Giants, but the difference between the Giants and the Cowboys for me, and I know this is going to sound crazy because I'm not a huge fan, but he's much better than Jackson Dart, it's Dak Prescott. That people were saying, well, I don't know if I'd have traded Micah Parsons. Parsons is such empty calories, and the Cowboys made out like bandits getting Kenny Clark in that deal alongside Quinnen Williams, and then you get the 2 draft picks, right? Boom. When one of those draft picks was traded and produced Quinnen, I don't get it, right? And then you got Caleb Downs, you got Overshown back. There's guys there in Dallas that's not going to be a duck walk, right? I'm glad they're coming to LA. That is not going to be a duck walk. But Washington, Dan Quinn, boom. I think he's gone. Tampa Bay, Todd Bowles. I like Todd Bowles, but I think that's run its course. The Jets and Aaron Glenn, just when they're ready to win, he'll be gone. I predict Kyle Shanahan in 2 years will be their head coach. Indianapolis, Shane Steichen, I think he's on the hot seat sooner or later, man. I keep hearing how good he is. I know they've had quarterback issues, but he really needs a healthy quarterback room, right? He needs Daniel Jones to be healthy and to be what he was the first half of the season. I'm not out on Shane Steichen. I'm just out on his run with the Colts. If anything bad happens in Cincy, it's going to be Zach Taylor's head. So don't play Joe Burrow, which is stupid. And then I just got a feeling the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, I got a feeling there might be a mutual parting of the ways because I think this season is just not going to go well. And the bill is going to come due in terms of the age of these players. And in Philly, I don't trust Jalen Hurts. And now he's got one less great weapon. He's got an older Saquon Barkley. He's got an aging offensive line. I'm just not a Jalen Hurts guy. I think he's good. I think he managed them really well. But he needs pieces, and I think those pieces are dwindling around him. So there you go. I think he could be. I think Nick Sirianni could pay the price for that. $5 Steve. At least the Cards will get Arch. You know, that's a real funny thing. The Cards could go 2-15, right? But could they discover a quarterback in the process? Or could Carson Beck play well enough that someone else says, hey, no, let us take a look at Carson Beck, right? I think Jacoby Brissett is going to be traded by mid-season. Somebody's going to want Jacoby Brissett to patch a hole. And so, yeah, it could be Arch there. But, you know, he is a Manning. He might do what Eli did where he says, I ain't going to San Diego. I'm just not doing it. And, you know, who could fault a young quarterback for saying, you know what? You know, I love you, Bidwells, but I just can't smile. I'm not going to Arizona. I'm just not going to do it, right? And I'd be leery of that if I was a Cardinal fan, if there are really legitimate Cardinal fans. I think I do know one that's up in Oxnard and everything. So checking out a couple of things here. No, we're good. With that said, did you see the Chargers? And they're playing Thursday night, I think. That backup quarterback spot to Justin Herbert. Now, Herbert's taken a lot of hits and dragged his act out there. Total respect. But is that team with Super Bowl aspirations, is that a team that's going to hand it off to Trey Lance? I'd feel more comfortable with Stetson Bennett than I would with Trey Lance at that spot. And we won't talk about DJ Uiagalelei. Is it possible, because Mike McDaniel is the OC across the field there with the Chargers, is it possible that Jimmy G could end up with the Chargers? I thought that was a pretty interesting speculation there. Actually, it was my speculation. So there we go. All right, we got some stuff in there. Let's do this.
It was a stone groove, my man.
All right, Stone Groove. This day in Rams history, not much. Tomorrow, a few things happen, but I want to look at August 18th, 1977. The story on this date in Rams history comes from 1977 when the Rams traded. Most people don't know this. The Rams traded Hacksaw Reynolds to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. After the 1976 season, bitter end there in Minnesota, a lot of Rams had played out their options. And the free agency was a very tricky thing back then. Among them were Ron Jaworski, Harold Jackson, Tom Mack, Cullen Bryant, and Reynolds. Jaworski was sent to the Eagles in a right swap that brought Charlie Young to the Rams, who was an all-pro tight end at that time, and the Rams immediately made him a backup. And, of course, Jaworski went on, was reunited with Dick Vermeil, and the rest is history there, right? But Tom Mack's a Hall of Famer. Harold Jackson should be a Hall of Famer. Cullen Bryant's a legendary Ram. They should put a statue or his name up somewhere. And then there was Hacksaw Reynolds. And so there was all this friction and frustration after the third consecutive NFC title loss. James Harris, who ended up being declared, was the leading passer in the NFC. He had the 400-yard game in Miami. was out of favor with Carol Rosenblum. They wanted Pretty Boy Hayden doing it. And they actually dreamed that Pat Hayden could lead the Rams to the Super Bowl, but maybe not. They signed Joe Namath, traded James Harris to the Chargers for a 4th-round pick. Derwin Tucker didn't work out. Reynolds signed finally his contract offer after disputing with the front office, but then on this date, or tomorrow, August 18th, 1977, the Rams traded him to the Bucs, who were heading into their second NFL season after going 0-14 in 1976. Reynolds, the veteran, refused to report to Tampa, and the trade was canceled. The Rams were then approached by the Washington Redskins, George Allen, who was with the Rams in 1970 when Reynolds was drafted 22nd overall in the first round out of Tennessee. And so George Allen had a thing for Jack Reynolds, but the Skins didn't have any draft picks the Rams wanted. Remember, Allen was the founding father of blank them picks. 1 week later, the Baltimore Colts came in as a third party. The Colts were looking for a tough guy at middle linebacker to replace Mike Curtis, who left the team in 76 to go to Seattle. They'd send a pick and an unnamed player to Tampa, and Tampa would send their picks to the Rams, who would then send Reynolds to Baltimore. Ultimately, the deal fell through. Mike Curtis went to the Redskins, satisfying George Allen's lust for a veteran middle linebacker. Reynolds remained with the Rams through 1980, and then in May 6th, 1981, the Rams thought, in all their wisdom, remember, George is in charge, Steve is fired, Carroll was drowned, and John Shaw and them are in control. Jack Reynolds was released May 6th. June 20th, 1981, he signs with the San Francisco 49ers, and the rest is history. Jack Reynolds, who played for the Rams in Super Bowl 14, ends up winning Super Bowl 16 with San Francisco 49ers at the end of the 81 season. And then his last season in 84, they beat the Dolphins in Palo Alto in that Super Bowl. And so just add Jack Reynolds to the Rams' horrible miscues that provided for the 49ers, not only Jack Reynolds, Wendell Tyler, Charles Haley, Steve Wallace, and Bryant Young. The Rams have done the 49ers so many favors, and one of the bigger ones they did was give them Jack Reynolds, the consummate professional who carried his own projector with him to camp, the only 49er who was given a key to the facility because he thought so much about nothing but football. The guy who stood up to Ronnie Lott and told him, dude, you got to tighten up your game a little bit if you're going to be a great one. Of course, Ronnie Lott did. But get Jack Reynolds back 77 through 1980 season, but they let him go after the 80 season for what's his face, right? To go to the 49ers. Unbelievable. All right, cool. We're at the 39-minute mark here. What's up, Mr. Burns? Real quick rundown of the Rams schedule in Melbourne. That's a home game taken away. Then they get the Giants at home. Then they go to Denver, Philadelphia back-to-back. Then they get the Bills and Cardinals at home. They go to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. They get the Chargers at home, Taxkins on the road, and then the Cardinals on the road. Then there's the bye. And then on Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, they host the Packers, and then after that, they host the Chiefs. Then they go to Levi, I almost said Candlestick, to play the 49ers, host the Cowboys. That's where it gets a little tricky, right? Even if the 49ers are bad this year, which I think they're not going to be great, it's still a rivalry game, right, on the road. And then you got to host the Cowboys, who I said they're really improved, right? And if the Eagles falter in any way, the Cowboys are going to be uber motivated, right? Because maybe the NFC East is within reach. And then you got to go to Seattle and hope Terry McCulley doesn't screw you over again because he has a bet on the game. Then you got to go to Tampa Bay, which might be a breather, but we thought Atlanta would be a breather last year. And then you host the Seahawks for the final game of the season. So it looks like, it is going to be a full year, just the way the back half of the season breaks down. I don't know if there's a spot that if you wanted to rest, say, your starters before the playoffs, what it could be. What that looks like to me, because there's some tough opponents there, and because we also know the Rams are going to swallow the jalapeno in one of their games. They're just going to play awful because that's just what they do once a year. They're probably going to finish 13-4. Could they finish 15-2? Yeah, they could finish 15-2. They could finish 12-5. I'm going to say 13-4. Right? Say 13-4, and it's gonna be interesting to see, how these teams look from one part of the season to the next. 49ers in week 1. What are the 49ers going to look like in week 14? And so what's going to be left of them, because there's going to be a lot of injuries. Oh, let's see. I'm so happy to find Manny an opportunity to say hi to me, Willie, and Tim. Hey, Manny, how you doing? All right. I think we got most of it in. Let me just do a quick rehash there. The Rams did give an injury update. Trost is going to miss some time, and Mario Williams with hammies. Again, I will argue that Trost happened in the first quarter. Trost remained in uniform, pads on, and was standing on the sideline there late in the fourth quarter in Kansas City. And it wasn't a pleasant afternoon. It was very humid there. So I'm thinking, yeah, there is a hammy thing there, but I also think the Rams are being very, very cautious. I think they like Trost. Mario Williams, I think they like Mario Williams too, but Mario Williams needs to be out on that field, and he really can't be. They're not going to play Puka. They're not going to play, Devontae Adams. And right now, he's got an issue there because they're not going to play Kanata Mumfield. They're not going to play Jordan Whittington. And who's out there? Xavier Smith and Brennan Presley. And I think True Edwards was too. So Mario Williams is missing significant snaps. That's not a good sign for him. And then, of course, Nakua, they say it's sore core. He's just sore. Great. I don't care. He doesn't need to play. Garrett, knee swelling, they say. I don't care. I mean, just don't play him. We're almost a month away from the game. He doesn't need to do anything. This is Myles Garrett. And then I was talking about the offensive line. Bo Limmer graded out really well. Austin Blasky, right? Austin Blasky at left guard and left tackle. Really anxious to see how he performs going forward. The one that didn't play so well was Dylan McMahon. Dylan McMahon did not play well, although he took the bulk of the snaps at center. I am curious when Justin Diedick is coming back. However, he does play center, but it was a hand injury, so we don't know when he's coming back. There was not an update. Ty Hamilton actually graded out the best of the defensive linemen that played. Tim Keenan had a sack. I talked a lot about Bill Norton. I think I'm just really in love with his size. He didn't grade out super well. Not that we worship every grade that PFF gives, but you just got to take it for what it's worth. Nakai Hill-Green took most of the snaps, took 70 snaps at off-ball linebacker. So did Monty Rice. I don't think either of those guys are going to see September with the Rams, at least not on the active roster. Interesting what's going on at edge. Myles Garrett, Byron Young, Josiah Stewart did not play, but DeJuan Johnson, Keir Thomas, and Wesley Bailey are battling it out. I do not think Darrell Peterson is going to have any shot to make this roster. He would be a practice squad guy. Daniel Rickert's a body. But DeJuan Johnson and Keir Thomas have been around for a while, and just curious to see. I like DeJuan Johnson. Keir Thomas, I'm kind of about, but Wesley Bailey does look the part, right? And it'll be interesting to see. In the secondary, Cam Lampkin played, looked good. He's going to make this team. And then it goes to Alzillian Hamilton. I don't think Forquin or McPherson make this team. In the safety room, who gets a shot, right? I think Tanner Engel is the Ronnie Rivers of the safety room. Rams keep him around because they really like him. But it was Nick Anderson who stood out. Alex Cook played well too. And then you have Nate Valcarcel, Alex Johnson, along with Tanner Engel. But I would definitely think this could be a Nick Anderson opportunity. If he doesn't make the active roster, he's definitely a practice squad guy if they don't lose him. Again, something to keep an eye on as we get into next week. All right. A lot of 49er fans saying Rams arrive in Australia the night before will be the difference. I like the idea. The jet lag won't have time to fit it. Again, we do have to honor McVay, right? He did that same thing with London, right? And it paid off really well a couple years ago. And yeah, right? He got the stupid reporter trying to pin him down, and he doesn't want to talk about it. Bryce Henderson will make the team now. I'm not going to argue against it, depending on how deep it goes with Keegan Trost, and then the development of Blasky, and then as I think I don't know who brought that up. Who brought up looking at tackles? Mikey Gutierrez. The idea of Rams might go back out on the market for a tackle. It just depends, right? The Rams are so ambiguous about these injuries sometimes, right? And folks have a tendency to turn everything into a hairy hysterical moment, as opposed to, the Rams just always err on the side of caution. And again, I go back, and maybe it means nothing. Maybe it means nothing. I wrenched a groin muscle once. I had a groin injury once. I got to tell you, it was a little after I stopped playing and everything kind of cooled down. I could barely move, right? I haven't done a hammy, but once you stop playing, everything tightens up. There's just part of me that thinks Trost had a tweak, felt something, and they said, no, we're going to shut this down, and we're going to shut you down for a bit. Again, hot, humid day. He's still standing on the sideline, fourth quarter, in uniform, pads on. I don't know if it's as serious as maybe we think it is, right? Or it's being passed on to us. So there you go. Hey, I want to get to 50 minutes. Okay, we got 3.5 minutes left. Anyone want to throw something at me? I'm happy to talk about it. Love talking about the 49ers drafting Jake Moody. He was just released by the Taxkins. Cardinals playing Jeremiah Love, now has a high ankle sprain. Seahawks signing Terry and Arnold out of just absolute desperation. That just tells you they know they haven't released or replaced Tariq Woolen. And then again, here's the other thing too. I think the trial stuff starts for Arnold in October. We might not even see him with the Seahawks, and he's talented, but he didn't really show that much in Detroit. And he's got stuff, man. If you think Alaric Jackson and Puka Nacua have stuff, Terry and Arnold has stuff, and it'll be surprising to see him in a uniform. Anxious to watch Hard Knocks tomorrow night. We'll see how that plays out. Everything else is going good. I shared earlier that I would love to see maybe the Rams put Ronnie Rivers out in the water and let him come back to the practice squad, because I want to see what we got more in Jarquez Hunter and Dean Connors. But let's take note, Ronnie Rivers didn't play a snap yesterday or on Saturday. So, I think the Rams may have already answered that question. All right, cool. We got 2 minutes left. Anybody else want to throw something in there? Because it's hot here. It's really total Del Scorcho right now. I know $5 Steve is out there in Hesperia. That's probably coat check to hell right now. I'd be curious to know how hot it is out there. A couple of things I just want to remember that the Seahawks are replacing their OC. He was the former tight end coach. I think it's Brian Fleury was the former tight end coach, right, with the 49ers. Zach Charbonnet is out there leaning on Jadarian Price. I don't think they got another receiver outside of JSN. I think Cooper Kupp's a great player coach kind of these days. I don't know if he's a difference maker. And I don't think they've got an elite pass rusher. DeMarcus Lawrence is really good, looks in great shape, but they're getting old. I'm not really high. I think the Seahawks are going to be good. I don't think they're going to be what they were last year. They're going to need more Terry McAulay help for this year. We talked about the injuries for the Cardinals. Did you see Fernando Mendoza, right? He didn't do a whole lot, but, man, he made a couple of throws that just let you know that, he's the guy, right? He is the guy, and it's exciting going forward. I also think as he shares, he's nerdish, he's very open about his faith and everything. I also get the feeling, as I've heard other talking head groups talk about Fernando Mendoza, that they'd love to triangulate on him and nitpick him to death. The problem is they probably see him as Tim Tebow, and he could be the next Tim Tebow, except that he's got passing skills, and that's really going to be infuriating. I might be reading into that, but it is something I am thinking about. And keep an eye on Jimmy G, former OC Mike McDaniel, being with the Chargers, because Trey Lance and DJ Ugalali are just not going to cut it as backups for Justin Herbert. There you go. All right, we hit the 50-minute mark. Mid-90s today. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. Feels hotter here. I don't know why. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Okay, guys. All right, I'm going to take off. I got to run. Be sure to hit like, subscribe. I'll leave you with some proud heritage. God bless. Take care. We will be back on Wednesday. We'll talk a little bit more about the offense and anything else that breaks. Be sure to check out RamView on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. Also, FanView. It's a column I post right here on YouTube, posted at Mid-Valley Sports, on Twitter, other social media. That is my daily sports column. God bless. Take care, and we will see you soon. Okay.